Very.
Well, my name is Nolani Valles Colon, and this is Friday, September 28. I'm conducting this interview in the Historical Society. I'm studying at Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I'm conducting this interview for a project that is a collaboration between the IUP Oral History Program and the Historical Geographical Society of Indiana County. We are collecting and analyzing interviews with a long-time area residents about the community of Indiana. This collection is meant to complement work recently completed of the history of some other buildings still surrounding the area, and our goal term is to learn more about the community through the people experience. Please begin by saying your name.
Bob Vargo.
If you have a middle name, please state it and spell it also. Well, we're talking about your childhood. Where did you grow up? State the street name and location.
I grew up in Indiana, Pennsylvania. Obviously at the hospital. And then my family at the time, we had a large family, and we lived on School Street in Indiana, right beside the Horace Mann School.
How many brothers do you have?
We ended up with 7 children in our family, mother and father, of course, and we had 4 boys and 3 girls.
And you were in what?
I was kind of in the middle.
In the middle.
Yeah, I had a couple older sisters, and I had some younger brothers, so I would have been right in the middle. Mm-hmm.
And your experience in the communities as a child? The experience in the community for you as a child? How?
Oh, as a child, obviously I went to school.
Do you know the name? Do you remember the name of the school?
We were Catholics, okay, so we ended up going to St. Bernard's Catholic School, which was about 8 blocks away from where we lived. So we went there. We went to St. Bernard's Church, which was in town at the time. And during the 8 years, I guess, I became an altar boy and a choir boy at church. Mm-hmm. And that kept us very busy. And we had nuns for our education, and they were very, very good. The nuns were excellent. And each grade that we were in, of course, had a different nun. And then we had a priest. He was an Irish priest, very tall, and he looked down upon us, of course, and always wished us well. What he was hoping for, that because we were there for 8 years, that one or several of us would become priests. And as it turned out, there were a couple of us that came close, but we did not become priests.
And I had a question about your last name, Vargo.
Vargo.
Do you know where it come from?
Yeah, my dad and his family came from, Austria-Hungary. And so I'm basically Hungarian. And my mother's side of the family was Irish. So I've got Irish blood and Hungarian blood in me. And
in your adolescence area, what did you used to do in Indiana? Hang around?
What we did at the time, of course, we were going to school. I ended up, delivering papers. I delivered papers for several years. After 8 years of school, went to the local high school. I did not participate in athletics, although I wanted to. What I did was I ended up working for a local printer. So I was actually printing documents, working with a local printer. Mm-hmm. So I did that. One other important thing, I think, I delivered telegrams during World War II. I had a bike and delivered telegrams to poor people that had lost, somebody in the service. So that was very interesting, though, to do that.
That was interesting.
Very sad, though, some days. So that's pretty much what I did through high school.
Do you know the name of the high
And
school?
then college, I went to college. It was Indiana State Teachers College at the time, all right, which is now IUP. And spent 4 years there, got a degree. I majored in accounting. That was my major. Took a minor in history.
Nice.
I thought, well, if I'm going to end up teaching and not working in accounting, I will teach history. Well, as it turned out, I had to do my student teaching. It's kind of a funny tale, I think. Growing up and living where we did on School Street, I walked 8 years to grade school. I walked 4 years to high school. So then I went to college, which was up this way, okay, a little different route. So I ended up student teaching, and I said, I do not want to student teach at Indiana. I want to go somewhere else. No, I ended up student teaching at Indiana. So here I am, carrying my briefcase, all right, walking the same path that I had walked for
All your life.
Yeah, all my life. Yes, very well put. But I had a briefcase. So I did my student teaching, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, well, maybe I had already gotten a part-time job in business here with a local company that I was going to go with when I graduated from college. So I got thinking, this is interesting, though, teaching. So anyway, the supervisor called me in. She said, you have done a wonderful job. I'm giving you all A's, and you're going to make a wonderful teacher. Well, I debated whether to get up and walk out and thank her or to tell her that I wasn't going to be a teacher. So I decided to tell her the truth, that I had a job in business to go to and would probably spend the rest of my life in business, which I did. And so anyway, I thought maybe she would take my good grades back. But anyway, she wished me well. Now, the flip side of that is that I was not going with anybody at the time. I was not dating. I had dated in college a good bit. And I was thinking, I'd like to ask her out for dinner because she was very attractive. And I thought, no, if I do that, I may blow the whole thing and she may change my grades. So I didn't do that. So I said goodbye to her. Never saw her again.
Oh, that's sad.
So then, just to continue then, shortly after that, I did go to work, of course, with this local company. And then there was a Korean War that was heating up at the time. And I ended up getting drafted into the Korean War and spent 2 years serving my country, in the U.S. Army. So then after that, I came back and went back to work with the same company. Traveled all over our country, by the way, in my job, which was very enlightening, very fun. And came very close to traveling overseas. I had almost an opportunity to go to Australia and South Africa, but I didn't get there for another reason. But anyway, I spent 40 years then.
Do you know the name of the company?
The name of the company was National Mine Service. National Mine Service.
So it was a mine company.
And we were servicing the mining industry, is what we were doing, yes. And that's what basically my job was.
And do you have any children? You got married?
Yeah, we had, my wife and I have been married for a long time, 63 years.
The name of her? What is the name of her?
And we had 2 children, a boy and a girl. And then later on they got married, and each of them had a boy and a girl. So that's pretty much our family.
How many years you got married?
63 and a half.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a long time that she's put up with me. But, No, it's been very happy.
How did you meet her?
After, let's see, it was right after came out of the Army. It was right after I came out of the Army, and I was working, and I had a good friend of mine who was a year behind me in school, in college, and he said, how would you like to go to a Notre Dame football game? Now, Notre Dame is a very big university. It's a Catholic university in the state of Indiana, and it's very well known for its football, along with everything else. So he said, we're going to go out to a football game at Notre Dame. Very exciting for me at the time. So he said, I'm bringing my sister, which I knew his sister, and my cousin. Well, it was a cousin that I ended up meeting. She was in the back seat, I was in the front seat. So we got talking on the trip back. And so anyway, we kind of fell in love with each other. And so we got married 2 years later.
What was the year you got married?
Huh?
The year you got married.
We got married in 1955.
Wow.
And then our firstborn was 1956. Our secondborn was a year later. So we had 2 children kind of in a hurry. So we were glad and anxious to have children. Okay?
So do you stay in Indiana after you graduate, or you move? I know you move around.
We moved around a little bit.
What the towns that you visit or stay?
Shortly after we were married, the company that I worked for was expanding. And they had a big plant in the state of Kentucky. So they called me and they said, we want you to go down to this plant and go to work for us there for some time. So I went down, and I was not happy. I was not happy with the plant. I was not happy with the management. And so the president of the company, our company, called me in, and he said, tell me what's wrong. So I did. I had an opportunity to tell him what I thought from my observation, what was wrong with the way the company was being handled. So he ended up firing both the people that were in charge of the company, and he sent me down there for a couple of years. I was not in charge, but I had a very responsible job down there, okay, in Kentucky. So I was there a couple of years with my family. I moved them down there. Our kids were about this big, okay. They were only like 3 years and 2 years old. So my wife wasn't happy. Nobody was happy except me, because it was a good job, good promotion. So anyway, about 2 years we were there. And then one of the officers of the company, we had offices in Pittsburgh, okay? We had a location here, an office in Pittsburgh, and then we had branches all over the country. So our corporate office, one of the people came down and said, we want you to move to Pittsburgh. So that's what we did. We ended up moving to Pittsburgh, and we were there for 10 years at our corporate offices. And then we were there for 10 years. And then at that time, they were building a brand new office building up here in Indiana. So that's when we got moved back to Indiana, and I was in charge of a big building and a lot of people.
So you came back to Indiana?
To Indiana, yes. So we've kind of been in Indiana ever since.
And how, when you come back to Indiana, how you felt moving back and see the change of the university, everything?
It was to us, it was very maybe outstanding. We were very pleased with the community and the way the university had gone, and the company in the mining industry. So when you think about those 4 different things, we were very excited. The only problem was the family, our kids were not as excited as I was because they liked the Pittsburgh area where we lived. They liked the schools where we lived in Pittsburgh. So they weren't too happy for a while. But then our daughter went to IUP. She ended up going to IUP and loved it. Okay. And she majored in art. She was an art teacher for a long time. And our son went to University of Pittsburgh and became a physical therapist, graduating from Pittsburgh University. So
You got both words.
yeah, so it all worked out. Okay.
Anything else?
No, having grown up here, it was a great community to grow up in, quite frankly. We had good theaters, we had good stores, we had like 6, 7 stores uptown, and good church, you know. We had a couple places where as teenagers we could go and dance and party and
So there was a lot of party here in
Yeah,
Indiana.
so,
Like still today, like because I know that Indiana University is kind of recognized for the parties that they have
Yeah,
and everything.
right.
So.
Well, we, back at the time, I don't think the university had quite as many parties as they do today. But those they did have, I probably got involved in because I was a party person. Is that a good way to put it? So, but yeah, but growing up in the town, it was a great town in which to grow up in, it really was. We had good stores. We had things that the kids could do, and so it was really a nice town of Indiana.
Do you know the name of the stores you used to go and party the stores?
To party.
Yeah, some of the stores I used to go.
Oh, the stores.
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote this down. We had Troutman's, we had Penny's, we had a couple of hardware. Oh, one of the hardware stores was Jimmy Stewart's father had a hardware store in Indiana. Jimmy Stewart, the movie actor. So that's how I got to know Jimmy Stewart, because he would play tennis. When he came to Indiana from California, he would play tennis. We had a club called the Allied Club, which is on Philadelphia Street, down the street a bit. And a couple of us young guys that lived in the neighborhood would come in and fix up the tennis court, okay? Like we would roll the court. We would put white lines around the court. So one day we're doing this, and here comes Jimmy Stewart, the movie actor. So I got to meet Jimmy Stewart. So that was a lot of fun. We had good movies. We had 2 theaters here. It was very good. And good stores. And places for us teenagers and college students to go and hang out. All right?
And how was the economy in Indiana? Yeah.
At the time, it was very good.
It was good, so-
It was right around World War II and shortly thereafter. So the economy was very good.
In the Depression area, in the 30s, the 1930s?
1930, yeah, the Depression was pretty bad here, but it was probably the middle 30s when it started to turn around, primarily because of the mining industry. We had a lot of coal mining in this area, and that really helped. We had a couple of major companies like R&P Coal Company and many others, and that really helped the economy. And as a result, the town kind of boomed. And then we had several companies like Fisher Scientific and Seasonal, just to mention a couple, that came in, built big factories, and that worked out very well.
So, and the social class,
Social?
the social classes that were in Indiana, in the community, you know, middle class, upper class.
Oh, yeah, we had, it was called, the people with a lot of money, called the 400 Club. There were probably 400 families that had a lot of money. And then there was a middle class. We did not have any, I mean, most everybody in Indiana was Caucasian. We had very few Negro families. We had one that lived right near where we did, and we were very close to them. But most of the families were Caucasian. Some from Europe and some from wherever, okay? But, and most of them were mining people, because that was the main thing at the time, mining.
And what about Latin families?
No.
No, there were not.
No, not that I know of.
And now in this area, in the modern area?
Yeah, probably.
So
it's changed a bit.
You have changed a lot?
Yeah.
How do you feel about those changes?
Oh, fine. No.
So you're okay with the...
Yes, very fine, yeah. Yeah, we've had a lot of, what do you want to call it, integration of, different races that have come in here. And it's a great community. And the university has done very well. And the only thing that's hurting right now is we're really hurting for industry. We're lacking for industry. The mining industry declined. The other industries that we had here declined and or left. So we're hurting for industry here. And that's our biggest problem, objective.
And let me see. And how you feel about you been growing up, like the big wave of students coming in every year?
That was fine.
That was fine.
Oh yeah, worked out very well. Yes. Yep.
Anything else?
Okay.
Do you want to share?
Did we cover everything?
Well, yeah. I'm pretty impressed about the time that we took everything.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything that I didn't. I'd made some notes for you.
And how about the Indiana Uptown area? That is Indiana Borough, I think it is.
Oh, I'm very impressed with the Uptown area. In other words, through all of these years, with all these changes, with all the industries that have come and gone, we've maintained an excellent Uptown. Excellent. Yes, the stores, those that are still here, the stores do a wonderful job. And the community is really good as far as supporting the community, doing what's needed, to make sure that we have a wonderful community. We have a lot of visitors that come into Indiana. We have a lot of small towns out around us, okay? And a lot of those people come in.
So
we have people from all over the country come into Indiana.
So basically Indiana is like the big country, like the big town that everyone comes, right?
Yeah, right. We have a lot to offer. For a town of this size, we have a lot to offer.
It's like a mini Pittsburgh area?
A mini Pittsburgh, yeah, right. Yep.
Let me see. I think that's... the civil rights movements in the 60s. You were here during the...
We were in Pittsburgh.
You were in Pittsburgh. But how do you feel about that in Pittsburgh?
It was not a major thing with us. It was not, no. I mean, we knew what was going on, but it wasn't a major problem. I have to laugh. I think one of the major problems in the 60s was, as I said, we grew up as Catholics. So we had nuns everywhere, and our kids had nuns when they went to school, all right? But in the 60s, the nuns decided that they were going to give up their uniforms, their habits, okay, and wear regular clothes. So that was a shock to the church, to the community, so our kids who were used to going to school, and here's a nun that's teaching, all right? Now she's got regular clothes on instead of a nun's outfit. So that was a major change in the 60s, yes.
I think that's all. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think we've covered the waterfront. I think you did a very good job as far as...
I'm impressed by the time. I thought it would be longer, but I'm impressed.
Well, we covered a lot in a short period of time. All right?
Yeah, well, to add more time. Why do you choose the profession of a business? Why?
As far as issues or...
No, why do you like that profession? Why do you choose?
Oh, okay. I don't know. My father was a businessman, okay, number one. My older brother was a businessman. So I guess I kind of gravitated into that, although I liked engineering. And I kept thinking, maybe I should be an engineer. I liked language. I liked the language very much. I took French in high school. I took Latin in high school. So I liked languages. Now, I have to tell you a funny story, though, about the language teacher. We had our French teacher was a very attractive young woman, okay? And here we are, now we're in high school, okay? So we're pretty young and, you know, crazy thoughts going through our minds about women and girls and all that kind of stuff, you know? So anyway, she would sit on the desk and teach us French. But she wore short skirts and sat there and crossed her legs. And here we are, young high school male adults, not even adults yet. So anyway, we all started laughing about it because she was a good teacher. So we said, we have got to take French 2 from her next year. We've got to. Okay, now, why didn't we? They were teaching a new class called aeronautics, having to do with flying planes. Oh, that was my cup of tea. I was going to be a pilot, okay, in the Air Force. That was. So anyway, no more French. I gave up the French, I gave up the teacher, and I took aeronautics instead. Excellent, very good.
Did you ever fly a plane during?
I went down to join the Naval Air Corps with a friend of mine. I helped him through school because he wasn't very bright. So he passed, and I didn't. I didn't fail because of the scholastics, but they were getting into jets, and you had to be, they called it, your teeth had to be perfect. Your teeth had to bite right. My teeth were okay, but they did not bite right for jet aircraft. So they sent me home.
Wow.
So that was very disappointing. So I come back home, and I had a job, of course, okay. So I said to my dad, I don't want to go back to that job. And he said, well, they owe you the job, because, you know. So I went back to the job, and that was part of the 40 years that I stayed.
What was that job?
That was the mine job. National Mine Service. Yes. Okay.
And I noticed that earlier you said about history, that you teach history. Do you like it? Because I'm in history majors, so I'm curious about that part.
Oh, no, I loved history. I just and I read all I could read about history. Yeah, I'm a big Civil War buff. I really enjoyed the Civil War, but we studied that, and we studied the era after the Civil War in history. We had great history teachers at that time here at ISTC prior to IUP. Yeah, we were very good. So I had a good education.
So yeah, you're involved then in the history of Indiana, the old part.
Yeah, that was part of it. But yeah.
What can you tell me about that?
More of it was worldwide, though, and especially the Civil War was very interesting to me. So, okay.
Yeah, I think.
Do all right, boss?
I think that's all.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You did a good job as interrogator.